Hello, it's Josephine here, your performing arts business coach, talent manager, speaker, and mentor. I am excited today. I'm so excited because I am in launch week for my signature course, Talent Manager Bootcamp. And what better way to celebrate than to have one of my beautiful TMB graduates on the show. So we are going to be speaking to and listening to today the wonderful human Renee Reese. Now, Renee is a studio owner from Queensland, Australia, who is going from strength to strength in her business. She's in a growth mindset mode and is unstoppable right now. So she's literally expanding locations. She's expanding her program offers. She's expanding her services by providing an in-house talent management service. She's really on the rise, and I was so excited to have her in today and to share with you how she's doing it and how it started from humble beginnings, really, and how she's just growing and growing and continuing this pursuit of, happiness, confidence, and overcoming what she refers to as imposter syndrome. So I love it. I love this conversation so much. The best part is that she told me in the interview that she actually had thought about talent management a decade ago and never did anything about it because it felt unattainable. And she loved that I was able to demystify the talent industry space and make it accessible to her and her students. So everyone that's listening, if you've ever thought about, like Renee had for a decade, and within a couple of months with me, was in implementation mode and ready to launch her own in-house talent management service. So if you're interested in that and you're a bit like Renee, you've thought about it for a long time, or it's something you're really interested in, but it just feels like it's not accessible to you and it's not possible, I want you to know that it is. And Renee's going to share that story later in the show. And I can't wait for you to hear that. But if you're interested, join me and other studio owners on this amazing journey so that you can provide those opportunities for your students, in film, television, theatre, commercial, and more. You can provide those opportunities for them in your studio. And it's been great, and it really does increase that revenue for your business as well, and that student retention element, which is great as well. So head to josephinelancuba.com/TMB, and I'll pop the link in the show notes below for you as well. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Renee before we kick off. So Renee Reese is a studio owner who has a passion for all things performing arts. Since starting a small studio in 2009, she has gone from hobbyist dance teacher to successful entrepreneur with Reese Dance, which is her studio in Queensland. She's now operating in 2 locations and branching into new areas of dance education and talent management, which is so exciting. It really is. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my amazing client and beautiful human, Renee Reese. Let's do this.
Hey there, I'm Josephine Lancuba, and you're listening to Business, Arts and All That Jazz. I've been immersed in the creative business world and performing arts industry for over 20 years. I know from experience that being an artist, a creative, or running a creative business can be a tough gig, but I'm here to tell you it's possible. I went from having $0 to my name and living below the poverty line, to then living paycheck to paycheck, to finally living a life of comfort, happiness, passion, and even stability. In this podcast, I peel back the curtain and share with you the ups and downs of my journey. Plus, I tap into the minds of creative industry experts to discover their paths to success. I know you have a spark inside of you, that little voice that tells you to reach for the stars. I want to help you step into your limelight, to have the courage to live a life you dream of, a life that you design. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk business, arts, and all that jazz.
Hello, Renee, and welcome to the show. We've got Renee Reese from Reese Dance in Queensland, Australia.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm so, so good. You can hear my voice is a little bit raspy today. I've actually had the funniest thing. I've had this raspy voice for I reckon about a week or two now. I'm not sick at all. It's just my voice. It must be the cold. Is it cold in Queensland as well, or just Sydney?
Look, it's cold relative to me. I don't think you would think it's cold, but yes, no, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's harder to get up in the morning.
Oh, totally, totally. So yes, you'll have to, everyone listening, you have to excuse my voice today. I'm doing my best, doing my best. So I wanted to get you on the show because you have been one of my clients for a while now. You went through my Talent Manager Bootcamp course with the goal to open up your own in-house talent management service and then became a member of the Talent Squad membership. And we're going to get into that later. But before we dive into any of that sort of, diversification into your business and how you've recently grown and expanded your business, let's start from, tell me about Reese Dance. Tell me about Reese and all of the things that you've been doing and how long ago you started and that sort of thing, so the listeners can get an idea of who you are.
Yeah, well, I have danced pretty much all my life, on and off, so dance has always been really important to me, and I always seem to go back to it. So we started Reese Dance. Well, I started Reese Dance in 2019, and no, that's not true at all. I started it in 2009.
Wow, you just lost a decade of your life there. Do you know that? Totally get it. Oh, 2019 was the year before the pandemic. You may as well have it's like a rebirth after that from 2020.
Exactly. I forgot that there was anything before COVID. Yeah, so 2009, and I had just had my little boy, Oliver, and I was working in the banking industry, and it was just soul destroying. And I decided that I wanted to go back to what I love. So I started taking classes again, which was crazy. I think I was 31, going back to go, all right, I'm going to get my teachers, do my exams and do it all the right way and whatnot. And just had a baby, so he was 6 months old. So it was crazy, but that's what we did. And I started with just a few kids. Actually took over from my first dance teacher, so she closed down, and a couple of her kids that still wanted to dance came across to me. And yeah, so it was built like it was open to be just a fun, safe place for kids to come and enjoy dance, basically. And we've tried to keep that culture going through. So I think this is year 14 or something now, and we're still building on that. It's slowly grown through word of mouth over the years. I haven't really put too much into the business side of it in the start. So it was just very much, oh, cool, another kid's joining. Oh, cool. And, and it was almost like that hobby feeling. And over the last few years, I've kind of gone, should probably, take what we've
you've
got.
Absolutely stepped it up. Like I can see, like you've started bringing in like those licensed programs. You've started looking at expanding your locations. You've started you're about to launch a talent management service. So I mean, humble beginnings for sure, but I feel like maybe that's why you say from 2019, because it's actually you said the last 4 years is when you start to go, actually, you know what, I'm going to do something with this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it got to the point where I haven't worked a normal job for a while. Like I didn't go back to full-time work, so I've always done part-time work. So it has been a job, but I guess it was just a mindset more than anything, because I was always putting new things in, but it was more from a point of, my kids are interested in this, so let's add that. I had no problem adding things and taking leaps of faith and that kind of jazz. Like that was never a fear factor for me, but and I always wanted to provide really good tuition. It kind of lived between hobby and full business that I could grow and have something for my children to take on.
And that's a really interesting point that you make, because I think a lot of people live in the hobbyist space when it comes to their
Mm,
performing arts studios and businesses,
mm,
any sort of creative thing, especially when you're passionate and you just love it and you want to provide the service. But it's interesting that you've obviously intentionally made a shift from hobbyist to, I'm now the CEO of my business and I'm going to build this. What was it that 4 years ago that made you have that intentional shift from hobby to, I'm actually going to step out of the mindset of hobby rather,
mm.
and move into the business owner?
It's really hard to explain because I don't know. It's really hard because I say hobby and I'm not exactly sure that's what I thought about it. I think, um, as I said, I was always wanting to step it up. There was a point in the studio where I started to lose the culture. And I think that's what is more that's happening in that kind of, pre-COVID era. We had some successes, and it's funny when you succeed a little bit, people start looking at you more, and then I wanted to hide more because I was like, then I really started looking outside my bubble, and then I was like, oh, that studio's doing this. I'm not doing it. Oh my God, what am I doing wrong? I really went through that phase and that real lot of self-doubt as a studio owner, excuse me. Even as a leader of my team, like it was really put a lot of self-doubt, and started to lose focus of what in the heart of our studio, what we were. So I think that was a big turning point for me when that all kind of came to its head, and I was like, yeah, this is what's happened. I've lost my culture. I'm pulling myself in all these directions, trying to please everyone, trying to be what everyone else is being, and I forgot what I was interested in and what I had started the studio for.
Yeah.
So that was a real turning point. And then I was like, no, I really like this licensed program, and we use the Ready Set Dance program, and it was quite new in Queensland when I started doing it. And there was pushback about having a licensed program from who I deemed,
Really,
the
that's
people that I was
interesting.
looking for. Yeah, a couple of comments was kind of, oh well, if you don't want to have to do the work of your own program, I guess it's great. You know what I mean? And I
So
thought,
ridiculous. It's the
yeah, and I
difference
was,
between like buying a McDonald's or opening a burger
or
shop.
cooking. Exactly, yeah.
Well, no, but opening the a burger shop from scratch, or just buying a McDonald's,
Yeah,
like
franchise, yeah.
it's just one of those things, and it doesn't mean that the burger shop's not going to be successful, but sometimes you actually just want to plug and play a system that will work.
And I'm glad that's the system that I picked because it is a school system and it's helped my business to no end. And I think that is also part of the shift in my mindset because, it's a preschool program, but there's so much training and thought-provoking conversations that are had between the studio owners and the founders of Ready Set Dance that I really started going, I'm not less than everyone else. Like just because I haven't been doing it as long, I do have really great ideas. A lot of these things that I'm thinking, these people that I look up to are thinking, and there was a lot more building your own confidence, I guess, in the choices that you're making and stuff down that kind of line. So I think that was the mind shift to bring it all back around. Is I started to be with people that were uplifting of the individual within their community, and it really made me
thinking
start going
externally. So just saying, actually, I need a bit of inspiration. I need support, help, and I guess guidance, and getting a license program or seeking coaching and all of these bits is actually a really important part of that, because entrepreneurship and business ownership can be a really lonely space. And so
100%.
we can have all of these great ideas, but then we have to implement them independently and without anyone to bounce off. And even though you have team, of course, but it's still nice to be part of communities. So I think it's really great that you invested in that. And that's actually
Yeah.
a great thing for you, right? For your expansion.
100%. And yeah, definitely that feel lack of isolation was and looking outside the box was a really great byproduct of getting into that licensing. And because we are, like, our preschool program is so popular at the studio, that's what I started our second location with. So we started from the preschoolers, and we're there. We've only been out there in our second location for 2 months now, I think. And I've started, our classes on the second day, and they're steadily getting trials and filling. So that was a really great program that I can take out there and just, again, plug and play. And I know it works. I know it's fantastic. There was no
and you've
guessing
obviously
it.
worked on the culture as well. So you've got great team, which I know
Yeah.
about you because we've obviously spoken many times that prior to this, obviously, as a client. That now that you've got this great team as well, so you know that when you implement something into a new space and you've got this plug and play system, you've got good team and culture, that they just work beautifully and harmoniously together. So that's what's going to be that success factor for you.
Exactly. And, I was always overwhelmed with, looking at business coaches and things like that. Like, I didn't quite, I guess, understand at the time that you get a business coach to improve. And, so I was like, oh God, I don't want anyone to see my business. They'll think it's not good enough, So I was like avoiding coaches because I needed the help that the coach was going to give me.
Totally.
As stupid as that sounds.
It doesn't sound stupid, and I get it. It's that imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, you don't want to be. It's the fear of judgment, and that can be really hard. Yeah.
So, and all of my team have benefited from that mind shift in me. Like me going, oh, we can get a little bit of input from this person and input from here, and let's look at what's out there and see if surely there's people that have better ideas than I do, and let's feed off that. Let's get some inspiration. And they've all taken to that really, really well. Like, you've met my right hand person, Moran, and I call her Rani.
Good old Rani, yes. Rani, you're 2IC.
Been with me since I always say I inherited her, because I bought another dance studio in our area, and that was one of her relatives, so she came with the package.
Oh, that's so amazing, isn't it?
So
you're so lucky to have had her.
Best investment. So yeah, it's really given them confidence as well. I'm trying to empower them, and focusing my time and effort into being a better leader for them, because I can see them growing, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, and I can see you growing as well. You're obviously going strength to strength. I mean, you talk about buying a business off somebody, trying to, weed out the culture issues over time, having that whole journey where you're trying to expand the business, but there's a bit of imposter syndrome. So it's all of the things, and then going, oh, I'm, the mindset of hobbyist to then moving into a growth mindset, which is where you are right now. You're definitely in a growth mindset. There's no doubt about
100%.
it. Yeah, you're like, okay, great. I've got this license program. I'm going to open up a second location. I'm going to start a talent management service and agency. Woo, right? So you're like, I'm going for this.
Yeah, and like Rani and I have been talking about talent management services for years. Like, there's a lot of things that we're doing this year. This year is just the year of making it happen for us, because we've been talking about a second location. We've been looking at, we're at Yarrabilba in Queensland is our second location, and it's, I guess, like a satellite suburb. So it's all the infrastructure is being built into it. And we've been looking at it for ages, and, finally a community centre was built that we can actually use to have our classes out of. And the talent manager service was something we've been talking about. So Rani has more of a background in that kind of stuff than I do. But yeah, it just when I saw your talent manager bootcamp, I'm like, oh my goodness, here's someone to tell us all the questions that we've had and that was holding us back. And you talk a lot about, demystifying it all, and it did feel like if you hadn't been around for 150 years and knew everybody in the business, that you just couldn't break in. You know what I mean? And it was really great when I saw like your little ads, I guess, for the letting us know what was happening when the talent manager bootcamp was coming up. I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to know everything about this. I can find it. Like, I can learn about it. I can I can be taught about it. So that was really exciting for us.
And it's interesting you use the word demystify, because I mean, it's absolutely demystifying the professional industry and those opportunities in film and television, theatre and commercial, those professional paid opportunities, and having that talent management service can feel really overwhelming, or like you said, it's not accessible. And so the whole goal of the program was for people like you to look at it and go, actually, this is possible, and this is something that I could implement, and it can be accessible. So let's talk about this expansion, because I think this growing from strength to strength is really what I'm excited to talk to you about. And I'd love to hear, firstly, you opened up your second location 2 months ago, and I've congratulated you on that, but I'm going to congratulate you again. Let's start there. How's it going? How is that second location going? And what does that feel like now being pulled in two different directions for people listening who might be considering that sort of expansion?
Oh, this is not the first time that I've had more than one location. So, firstly, it's going really well out there. Like, the preschool program is growing steadily. We've got, we had a Thursday morning class to start off with. We've got a Saturday morning class now, and we've got a wait list for other days. So people like to be spoilt for choice for days. So, as we get enough kind of inquiries, we will be opening other days. So that's going really well on the preschool basis. And I think my one of my dance teachers, her mum always said to me, your preschoolers are the most important, because that you're going to build them up. And, so always start with your preschool program and make sure that's where your numbers are, and they'll filter through because they'll be born into the studio, basically.
Yeah, totally.
So we're really having that focus. And I do have a couple of older classes, which I'm happy for kids to, come in and out of. But my main focus is that preschool, to grow them through. It's not so bad. I'm going out there myself twice a week. I made the conscious effort this year to not teach as much in our Bar studio, and I'm doing a lot of the back end admin stuff.
That's an important link that you've just said there. You've made a conscious decision to step back from teaching, and all of a sudden now you're in growth mindset, because you've got space to think and to act on the things you've been thinking about for the last decade. And now you're like, oh, I actually have the mind space that I can now pursue those, because the teaching side and other elements are taken care of from team.
100%. And I think, again, taking a step back again, before I did that, my staff are now more empowered to make those decisions. So it's not, oh, Renee's not here, I can't answer this question for that parent. Like, Rani's really stepping up. And so when I'm not there, she's the go-to. She talks to the parents. But all of my staff are starting to feel more comfortable. They know, they've all been with me, for 4+ years type thing. And they know what my response would be, and they're happy to say it on my behalf and whatnot. So that is a load off my mind as well. I don't feel like I have to be there every 5 seconds. Rani and I are going to Moulin Rouge tonight, and the studio will still run itself.
It won't burn down.
Exactly. COVID was really good for that, because we all got sick, and at one point there was one of us running the whole shebang while the others were in lockdown. So I think COVID was good for that, going, the world will not stop if you're not there. So that was really good. And I think in this incarnation of having the 2 locations, it's much more intentional. So I don't feel so pulled. I'm busier, obviously, but I don't feel so much pulled from pillar to post. When I first started, I kind of mentioned I took over from, well, my first teacher closed down her studio, which she was running from home. It was really little by the time she closed it down. And the students that wanted to continue came to me. So I went to them. So I was at Serena in Brisbane, which was about 30 minutes from my house. And then that was the first year, and that was all wonderful. And then I bought the other studio out, which was in Algesta, closest to where my home was, so 30 minutes away. So I had the 2 studios running, and then just kind of going in between. But it got to the point where I had to run classes nearly every day. And then for whatever reason, I decided to open one at Underwood, which was, 15, 20 minutes down the road from Algesta. So I was just doing this little triangle, and it was basically me and Rani just driving everywhere. It was stupid. But it was fun. It was really fun. And we met, like, some of the students that I got from the different places are still with me now, and some of them are teaching for me, and some of them, we just, are still in contact with. So it was worth it, but it was mental. Like, it really was pulling from pillar to post.
And
There
sometimes
was no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, well, you wanted to grow, you wanted to expand your business, and maybe potentially bring in that extra revenue and students, and make more of an impact in your area, I'm sure. But I get that, like, you put the pedal on and you're like, let's go, and then you're like, oh, okay, let's just roll backwards for a second. That was fun, but now I actually need to have a more strategic plan about what I want for my
100%.
lifestyle as well as my business. So that happens. I've done that a million times, don't you worry.
Yeah. And I think you come from a place of trying to please everyone. So, like, at my first location in Karina, I was really doing it for those people. And because those people, I danced with their children, like, it was a little family kind of thing. And I'd known them for so very long. But when I said, I don't think I can keep coming out here anymore, they were like, yeah, we get it. We had decided we're staying until you don't want to do it anymore. Like, it was a mutual thing, which was really good, because I don't like to let the kids down. There's certainly other places they can go to, but, when they're your babies. And then we were running still the 2 locations at Algesta and Underwood. And I still to this day, and this is like 7 or 8 years ago, there is a main road between where we were at Algesta and where we were at Underwood. I do not drive on that road to this day because I was sick of driving up and down.
So that road is now barred from your life. You will take the long way. I am not driving down that road again. I love it. I love the decision.
We found somewhere that was kind of central, and that's where we are at Barrenbar, in our own space, and it's gone from strength to strength. So
I love that.
More locations are great if it's intentional.
Totally. Yes. And it's not just, like I talk about sometimes renovation, where people just tack on things as they need them. Oh, we need an extra room, tack it. And then you end up with this botched house.
Yes.
Like, I am going to actually sit down, get a plan drawn, build the home I want, rather than tack a bathroom, tack a thing, and then you've got this botchy space.
And that's what was happening with the studio culture as well. And I didn't, you don't want any child to feel like they're at the second class part of your business. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're not in the main part or anything. So at Yarrabilba now, I'm very very conscious that the culture is the same. The classes are exactly the same. That
it's not tacked on. It's an important integral part of your business and service.
100%.
Love
so
that.
I'm looking forward to the end of the year concert, so they see. I'm sure they don't believe me that we have a fully fledged studio down the road when I'm sitting there by myself and there's 2 kids in class at the moment. But it'll be fun for them to actually see what it looks like at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now you are in that growth mindset, like we've said, and you've gone now and built this second studio. You're building your preschool programs. That's amazing. And you're about to launch your talent management service. So before
So
we jump into
excited.
that, you were part of my talent manager bootcamp program, which is amazing. Tell me what it was that really attracted you to the program, and how you felt going through the process with me and the course.
I think that decided like to actually sign up for it. So I believe he did like a little information webinar that was like really brief about what would be in the actual boot camp. So I signed up for that, which is great. I love you know, a little bit more of a understanding of what I'm getting into before I do it, because my personality kind of lets me jump in those things, jump in the deep end without knowing what I'm getting myself into. So when we did that webinar, it was really nice to hear you talking just so there was like a quiet confidence about it. It wasn't all hype, but it was just like, you can do this. And it was really all, I don't know, I guess down to earth. Like it wasn't, I just felt like I could relate to, I guess is the best way to say it. And you were talking about how you've been in, or you are in our position, you know, having your own studios and trying to provide more for your students without it being an overwhelming experience. So you explained, I think, straight up kind of what kind of time frame it's going to take, you know, what kind of time it's going to take out of my day, and things like that. So when I decided to sign up, I knew, one, what I was going to learn about. Two, I had confidence that I didn't need to have every contact in the book to make it successful. And three, that I had time to do it. It wasn't going to be something that I get all excited about and then overwhelm myself and not be able to do a good job at it. I
Yes,
think was
and
my main thing.
a lot of studio owners do dabble, and they try to implement talent management services in their space, but they don't have any guidance or know-how. I even know, and so it doesn't end up working out for them, only because I even know people that have gone on to do the photo shoot, like, you know, they do the headshot shoots. They're like, yeah, you're in the agency, it's all happening. And then it's crickets, because they're like, oh,
To
now
do
we have
something.
to do something more than
Yes.
just what they think it is. And it can be really, really simple. So tell me about your experience in the course in relation to those revelations that you've had during Talent Manager Bootcamp.
Well, I mean, you just broke it down so well. So every topic, I guess, my biggest thing was actually finding the work. So when you show us where we can go and find that and how that kind of presents itself, you know, and I've learned even more now that we've actually decided to do it, and I'm, you know, getting all the briefings coming through, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot coming through, and I'm reading them, and sometimes I kind of go, eek. But filtering through them and talking about how to, I guess, make sure you know your clients, like know your talent, which is why we're really good at being this, because we do know our kids, we know what talents they have and don't have, and kind of really thinking that when you're putting through a submission, you can save yourself time by thinking about it a little bit, you know, taking the time to read the briefs properly, and sending through kids that, or clients, I guess, that it will be beneficial for. So looking at the quality, like picking what you know your kids can do, to filter through some of it. Talking about, just trying to think, there was so much in there, but it's also so very simple, like the way that you provided the information, chunked it down into different
Like categories. Yeah.
Being able to look over that, and then having our Zoom meetings where we talk about it more in depth, and we could ask more questions and things like that if we didn't quite understand it. I still have 1,000 questions, but
And
That's
I
just
think that's
me.
the evolution of it, right? You're always going to have more questions. And
Mm,
I still have questions, and I've been doing it for years. And sometimes something pops up and I go, oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that.
mm,
I need to go and research or find out the answer to that. But that is the nature of business. That is the nature of learning something new as well. Now
100%.
you've got your launch coming up, your launch for your talent management service. When are you launching? What date are you launching?
I don't know what the date is. It's not this Thursday, but next Thursday. What's
Yay!
that?
And
The
how
first?
are you going about your launch? So what are you doing to spread the word and tell your community about it?
So we have decided to have like a little information night. So we followed all the steps that you kind of gave us first of all. So we feel like everything's in position. We've, got our photographer. We have an idea of how we're doing headshots and things for our first people. We've been mentioning it since we started doing the talent boot camp. So it's been buzzing around the studio a little bit for a while. We've kind of let them know what's happening, getting people to RSVP. We've probably got, I'm not exactly sure. I know that there's a few of my families that are like chomping at the bit that their kids are very charismatic. So they want to be, my daughter's the same. She's always like, oh, so I want to go on TV and be famous. I was like, I think there's a few more steps in between, but sure, let's try and do that. So we've got a lot of those kids hanging around, ready to go. But we're going to have an information evening at the studio. We've put together just like a little PowerPoint just with some of the main topics, I guess, so that they understand, one, what it is, two, what their commitment would need to be to make it successful. Because I can send them in for stuff, but if they don't, they're like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I don't want to cover that.
I like that you're having an information session. I think that's a really great start. And I love that you said that there's been a buzz and people are chomping at the bits. What has been the feeling around the studio when you're talking about representing your students in film, television, and theatre and commercial and all these exciting things and projects? What has been the response? What are families saying to you? What are the students saying to you?
They're excited. The kids are straight up the same thing. They're like, oh my God, I can't wait to be famous. I'm going to be like on TV. I'm going to, they think they're going to be, Hannah Montana and life is sweet. But the parents are really interested. They love that we still encourage our children who just want to come once a week and do their thing, but they also think it's great that we've got these extra services that we can provide the kids that do want to go into something a little bit more professional, that kind of think this is going to be their life, going forward. So yeah, it's just excitement. It's excitement for the opportunities that it'll give the kids, but it's also excitement for the studio because our families, for the most part, are really quite invested in our dance family. That's how we refer to it all the time. So seeing the studio succeed is really exciting for them as well. So there's kind of a few different vibes going on. It's almost like the parents are proud parents of me in the studio as well, that we're growing and expanding and doing these exciting things.
Yeah, and just going from strength to strength. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that it's creating a buzz in your space. And though we can never guarantee that they're going to be, famous or whatever, that's not what this actually is about. This is about just being up for the opportunity and making the arts accessible to everyone who wants to be a part of it. That's
100%.
it.
And, some of the kids at the moment, before we were doing this, we'd see stuff come up for little amateur bits and pieces, and they just love being on stage. And I think it's just giving them more opportunity to perform, which is why I've been thinking about it for a while anyway. When I was younger, there were kids in my dance classes. They, went off and did this, that, and the other. And a lot of my friends that I grew up dancing with are either dancing professionally or just finished, just retiring from professional dance and are teaching. And a lot of them stayed within the performing arts and had what you'd quote in a very nice way, stage mums, not crazy ones, just normal stage mums that kind of knew, I don't know how, but they grew up in that, and they kind of, Rani's mum, for instance, had her and her sister with agents, and I like Rani. Rani was in the Adventures of Skippy. She's old.
Wow, Skippy the bush kangaroo. For our international listeners, just to note that Skippy is a famous Australian show that had the lead character kangaroo. Yeah, very cool.
Quite an exceptional kangaroo. But yeah, so she was an extra and things like that. So a lot of the parents knew what to do, but my mum was never in the performing arts and whatnot, and we didn't have like the people around me at that time. It wasn't like we didn't know what to do. So I often had my teacher go, "Oh, you should be auditioning for this," and I had no clue what that meant. Like I had no clue how to find out where there was an audition or even to get an agent. So that's been why I've been talking about it, for so long, is that I'd love for kids to have, even if it's one experience in their life of doing an audition or, getting a part, just having that knowledge of where to send them to, to have that, to get that information. That's always been kind of the driving force for it.
And that's what Talent Manager Bootcamp is all about. It's about studio owners providing those opportunities, because you do get asked as a studio owner, where can I go to find these professional opportunities on stage and on screen? And now you don't only just refer them, you provide it. And that's phenomenal.
It's also doing it in a safe way, because, we're in a crazy world at the moment. And unless I really know the ins and outs of, I just don't feel like I want to refer families to things that I don't know are fully legit, So having someone like yourself who's working in it, and you kind of saying, look, this is a trusted source of, audition, briefs and things like that, trusted source of work. It's at least a starting point where I can feel really comfortable telling my families, because the majority of our clients will be children, and I don't just want to be sending them off willy-nilly into crazy situations.
Yeah, and sending them to things that you don't fully know or understand. But now you can confidently say, because you've got this talent management service, that what I'm sending you to has been vetted by me, someone who has an invested interest in your child, someone that actually cares about your child's best interest. And we can never guarantee what's on the other side, but at least we know that we've ticked those safety boxes. And
100%.
That's the best we can do with our due diligence to our clients and our students.
And being in the talent squad, I see a lot of when people aren't sure about what they've been offered, having that touch point of coming back to you or coming back to the group, it's really reassuring that, as I said, you've just taken that extra step of due diligence to feel comfortable about moving forward. Again, having community around is fantastic.
I love that. I love that. Now, before we wrap up today's show, and, obviously you've got this launch coming up for your in-house talent management service coming, which is like in a couple of weeks. So that's amazing. But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you a couple of things before we go. And that is, who or what inspires you?
This is really tricky. I have a lot of people that I consider mentors that I don't think know that I consider them mentors. I like to look to other people in a healthy way, because sometimes it can get a little bit too, oh my goodness, if they're doing it, well, I should be doing it type thing, and you lose
comparisonitis. Comparisonitis is a disease, yes.
Yes, I have many of those diseases. So yeah, my dance teacher, I had 2 dance teachers in my lifetime, and I've learned a lot from business from both of them. Just watching how they're 2 very different studios. So my first teacher was Anna Lefrinas, so she's been a mentor to me, and my second teacher, Julianne Lucas, has an amazing studio, and so they're people kind of that I've looked to create the studio that I have now. They're very influential in that, but they have no idea. I don't think. My biggest inspiration is my kids, and that's my biological children, so Lily and Oliver, but also the kids that I teach, and I very much do everything with my heart, and they really have become such an important part of my life. I don't think I could ever give up the studio. Like, simply, I would just feel too bad that I don't get to see my kids, and I come in and their energy just feeds my soul. So I think they're my inspiration.
That's beautiful. Now, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway because I love to ask. What's next for Renee?
World domination. No, just to really, make the second location grow, and just get our kids out there, let them have fun with this talent manager service, get them, just out into the world and seeing what it's all about, taking an adventure and, taking it full on and giving it its best shot. But growing as a person as well. Like Julianne said to me not so long ago, that you need to know who you are and just be it, and you can't kind of go wrong. So I think I've really stepped back into what I want the culture of the studio to be, and trying to shrug off some of that imposter syndrome and things like that, and just kind of breathe in our own space and just have fun being who we are.
Yeah,
a little quirky at my studio.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, thank you, Renee, for being on the show. And for everyone listening, Talent Manager Bootcamp, you can check it out. The link is in the show notes, and we hope to see you there either on the wait list or in the program, because
get into it.
Thank you, Renee.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, definitely. Talent Manager Bootcamp is awesome. It's so much easier than you think, and it's so much more attainable. And yeah, it's been fun learning. So definitely worth it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, take care. I'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Talent Manager Bootcamp Launch Week, where you are invited to join me and other like-minded studio owners in talent management. This is your opportunity to go from studio owner to talent manager in 8 weeks, because I will provide you with the industry insights and the theoretical and practical knowledge you need to create your own in-house talent management service. It really is easy when you know how, and I can show you how to do it. It's not rocket science, I promise you that. I can show you how you can provide opportunities for your students on stage and on screen in film, television, theatre, commercial, and more. I will demystify the industry and make it accessible for you and your students, because I believe that everybody deserves to be a part of this industry, and it's not reserved for the elite. It's for you and your people too. So get your community on board and get them in front of people that can provide them with these amazing opportunities. Sky's the limit. And believe me, I am on a mission to break the glass ceiling on the entertainment industry and make it accessible to everybody who wants to be a part of it. So if you want to be a part of it and create your dream studio and really reach for the stars and kick those goals in your space, increasing your student retention, increasing your industry credibility, and increasing your income and revenue, then Talent Manager Bootcamp is for you. Doors are open. Let's do this. Head to the link in the show notes. It's josephinelancuba.com/TMB. See you there.